Welcome to Retirement Key Radio with Abe Abish.
I know it's not officially summer. It's June 21st, I think, is the equinox. But
right.
In my opinion, once we cross over the June threshold, that's it. It is summertime. And I don't think there's ever been a year in our whole lives we have been more ready for a summer than the summer of 2021 after the last year we've all been through. And I know that so many of us looking forward to enjoying it. You and I were talking before, though, about perhaps taking a vacation this summer and how good luck finding a place to go. Hopefully you know somebody that has a house in Sandbridge or the Outer Banks or something, because trying to find something to rent... It is the market to be in this summer, the way to make some extra side income if you have something to rent. Your in-laws actually have a place in Charleston you guys get to go to, right?
That's right. Isle of Palms, right outside of Charleston, South Carolina.
Perfect.
Amazing area.
Nice.
Highly recommend it.
Little added luxury of having the in-laws for your vacation life on the side.
That's right.
But when it comes to figuring out how you can spend your money in your retirement years, that's what Abe is here to help you do in a plan of your own. And with that in mind, besides the arrival of summer, we have something else to celebrate. Many of our retirement accounts have now bounced back from the nosedive so many of us suffered as a result of the pandemic. In fact, Fidelity is reporting a record high number of $1 million 401k and IRA accounts in the first quarter of this year, which, again, is great news. But we also keep hearing rumblings that the bull market may be nearing an end, Abe. I have to believe there are plenty of folks listening to WMAL right now who are in this exact position. So for those listeners, where do we go from here?
Well, look, what goes up, Heather, must come down, right? And the markets are super overvalued. The indexes are at all-time highs, and we've seen some volatility over the last few months. We've seen some pullbacks. We saw crypto get crushed here recently, and that's just an example that what goes up must come down. We have to be prepared for these things. We know the market just doesn't continue to go up, and bear markets, right? That happens. We got to come back down to reality, and then we'll continue to go back up over the long haul. But, things are just so overpriced and overvalued. And I know it is concerning for a lot of people who are just about ready to retire or into retirement. So yes, tons of new retirement millionaires. Looking back at this time last year in 2020, we dug out of a massive hole. We saw 50, 60% returns in a lot of people's 401ks, and do not expect that every rolling 12 months,
Right.
We dug out of a massive hole.
That's right.
So we just had a couple call in. They live in the Haymarket, Virginia area, and they're one of these new recorded millionaires. They crossed over $1 million in their 401ks, and they're in their mid 60s. They live over there in Haymarket. They're retiring within a few years, and they've started thinking about getting more defensive and conservative. They know they need to, and that's why they picked up the phone and called us for a second opinion. So here they are, just crossing over the $1 million threshold for the first time in their lives, right at the right time, a few years away from retirement. And their problem is, just like so many people, Heather, that are about to retire, is that they're taking on too much risk. They know they are, and they picked up the phone and called us so they can look at some options in reducing risk, putting a written retirement income plan together so that they know exactly how they're going to cross the finish line into retirement, and then hopefully working with a firm that can help them hold their hands in through retirement as well. So what did we do? And what do we do for any potential client that's looking to work together with us is we provide them with a complimentary investment and risk analysis. And one of the pieces of software that we use to do that, Heather, is called Riskalyze. And it gives everyone a speed limit. And on a scale of 1 to 100, you're flying down the highway in a Ferrari, and 1, you're not flying down the highway and you're in a Pinto on the side of the highway. You're not moving, right? You might be safe, but you're not moving. You might be all in cash. Ferrari, you might be all in crypto or all in, Amazon or some hot flying tech stock.
Right.
They came in at about an 80. Okay. And really, high, a little too high.
Yeah.
They wanted to come down to about a 60. And so typically most people want to be somewhere between like a 40 mile an hour speed limit and maybe a 70, right? But if you start pushing 70 and you're coming in this report and you're 75, 80 or 90, you're typically in predominantly stocks and typically taking on unnecessary risk. So the cool thing about this report is that it provides all the pros and cons of how you're currently invested. It gives you a great compass check.
Got it.
It tells you, Heather, how much you're paying in fees and expenses. What are the potential annual returns that you would likely receive if you continue to invest this way from here on out?
Okay.
What are the potential highs? What are the potential lows? What is the standard deviation and volatility of your portfolio? And coming in with an 80 mile an hour speed limit, they had a standard deviation of 20. And standard deviation is pretty much just a measure of risk.
Okay.
And a 20 standard deviation is pretty high, meaning if you're shooting for a 7% return long-term, Heather,
Yeah.
you could have a year where, you're as high as 27% or as low as negative 13.
Oh, really?
And to have a range in between negative 13 and positive 27, that's a pretty big range.
Yep.
We are able to show them how we can reduce that standard deviation down to single digits. And almost all of our portfolios have single digit standard deviations of 5, 7, 8. An aggressive portfolio of ours might have a standard deviation of 12. But needless to say, we're talking about reducing most of our clients' standard deviations in half.
Okay.
Or in other words, cutting the volatility and risk in our clients' portfolios in the markets in half. Yet, keeping up with normal market returns, right? Keeping up with the major indexes for the most part.
Right.
Now, when the major market indexes in the stock market's going bananas and everything's up 20 to 30%, since we're not shooting for home runs, we might be neck to neck with some of these major indexes. Maybe some years we fall just short of a major market index. Maybe some years we beat a major market index. But where we really earn our keep, Heather, and for the most part, why our clients hire us is for the downside.
Right.
And because we can shrink that standard deviation and volatility in half, typically, most of the time, if not more, that means that the downside, their downside, is not going to be near as bad as investing on their own or perhaps with another advisor firm.
Got it.
So what was the solution? Providing them that complementary analysis and then helping them to take action.
Got it.
Showing them, hey, here's where you are. Here's where you could be. What are you going to do? Are you going to continue to invest the way you are? Or if you're telling me you're retiring in 3 years, let's be smart about this. Let's not take on unnecessary risk, and let's de-risk this portfolio of yours as much as possible right before we retire so that, God forbid, we don't suffer a 20, 30, or 40% loss right into retirement.
Right. I thought it was an interesting point how you were talking about their standard deviation was a 20. And for you, for an average amongst your clients, an aggressive portfolio standard deviation is 12. So it brings up this notion that you were mentioning. They wanted a second opinion and how important it is to get that second opinion to know where you do really stand right now with your risks within your own portfolio and retirement savings plan, and make sure that you understand that number and perhaps do some adjusting if necessary. That's what Abe and his team can help you do. You can always learn more by visiting us at retirementkeyradio.com. So other things that the pandemic have brought upon many people, U.S. News and World Report says it prompted more companies to make buyout offers to some of their older employees. And this is obviously a life-changing decision, Abe. So for somebody who is getting an early retirement offer, what kind of advice would you give them?
Take a moment of pause. If you're getting an offer to retire early or a forced retirement, right? Take a moment of pause. Is this the right thing for you at this time? And you need to weigh out all your options, Heather, very simply. Here are some of the things you would want to consider. If you're getting a severance package and a layoff package, what's in the package? Right? What are they offering you? How long are they going to pay you at your current rate? What kind of benefits are you going to get? What is your health insurance going to look like? Are you covered via health insurance, or are you going to have to go out into the market and purchase your own? How old are you at the time you separate and are being forced into retirement or retiring freely on your own? And how far away are you from taking your own Social Security benefits, right? If you haven't made a Social Security decision yet and you're looking for insight as to when it is best to take Social Security, we provide that complimentary as well, a Social Security action plan to help you decide, not just guess,
right?
Not just take generic mass advice. No, you, how old are you? How old is your husband? What are the birth dates? We'll put that in and give you a plan according to your life, a customized plan. Your financial situation, do you have enough money? Do you feel like you have enough money? Do you have, I would say, at least $1 million or darn close to it? Or do you have more? Or do you have just a few $100,000? Well, if you do, there's nothing wrong with that, but maybe you need to work a little bit more if you don't have enough saved. What's the possibility of finding another job? Are you still employable? If you wanted to continue to work, could you find another job, or would it be safer to stay in your current position and with your current company? And then consider all the consequences of not accepting the offer as well. We just had this happen to someone that called into the show recently.
Okay.
They live in Leesburg, Virginia. They are in their early 60s, and they were planning on retiring next year, but the gentleman was just forced into an early retirement. Now, this ended up working out for him, but let me give you the situation.
Okay.
Early 60s, planning on retiring next year at 64, 65, forced into an early retirement. He was planning on retiring freely on his own. Got a call, like a calendar invitation for a video meeting at 7:30 a.m. on a weekday with his boss and then an HR manager. And he was like, oh, I knew exactly what this meeting was about before it started.
Yeah.
Sure enough, didn't see it coming. Was planning on retiring in about a year or so, maybe a year and a half, and got the boot early.
Wow.
It has ended up working out for him. However, it doesn't end up working out for everybody.
Right.
They offered him a nice severance package where they're giving him his salary and wages through the end of 2021, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what he called into the show for was to basically get all of his ducks in a row. Here he is, forced into an earlier retirement than he and his wife wanted. Fortunately, they have over $2 million saved.
Wow, good for them.
Yeah, fantastic job. About $1.5 million in the market, over $500,000 of cash in the bank cash.
Wow.
To help them get through this transition. And so it was fantastic. And I would say one of the benefits of many of calling into our show, just meeting with a fiduciary firm and a fiduciary advisor, is that you're going to get good care. And me personally, I'm a certified financial fiduciary. Our code of conduct is higher than many other advisors out there. We have to practice the duty of good care. And my point is that we only work with people 55 and older. We only work with people who need help transitioning from their working career into retirement, that are forced into retirement sometimes, that have to make pension decisions, Social Security decisions, and all of these other financial decisions. So that's one benefit of many in working with a firm like ours, Heather.
Find out more at retirementkeyradio.com.
Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Abraham Abish is licensed in your state, please call 571-577-9968. Abish Financial Services is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Abraham Abish, NPM number 770-3575.